Right. Hello everyone. Today is the fear day. What fear is, how does it impact us and our decisions and so on and so forth. Right? Okay. So that's the drawing tool. Now everything is ready. So fear is the next emotion after a seeking emotion. Right? So first one is most like the primordial is the seeking emotion, and fear is the following. Uh, is the following, right? So again, if we look at when it appeared, right? Hang on, what was that like? Tree. Yeah, so I think you could see that. I think you could see that. Right, let me stop it. I know. Yeah, right. Okay, so from this image, to get the understanding, who did have fear. So we can see that. Well, I'm not sure about those guys, right? So jellyfish and worms and those there. Also insects, like seems like they could be afraid of something because fly is flying away when it detects threat. It says human or whatever. But like fish also could get scared when they are in school and then running away from a signal of shark predator. You've seen that, right? When they move rather synchronously. So we let's say that those that have fear, lizards do have. That's just obvious. Like they are running away, and snakes as well. If they detect some danger, they are running away. So that means like if they share the same brain parts responsible for that, right? So they did have right. So dinosaurs we assume like because they are ancestors of those, right? So yeah, then those like definitely yes, right? So we know that mammals do have fear, and it's really obvious. So the point I'm trying to make is somewhere here, 300 million years ago, the feeling appeared somehow, and animals started using it, right? So, right, don't want to get there. Let's get there again. So it was my favorite normal distribution, right? Where two two tiles of the distribution, and here we've got like fear response, let's say, or fear feeling, and here we've got number of animals per species per generation, right? So those on the left hand side, let's say, they've got zero fear response and they just died off because they were fearless and other predators ate them or whatever happened with them. Those ones also didn't really manage to cope with it, were paralyzed by fear, for example, or overwhelmed by this emotion and died off. Now, those who remain, So they were, let's say, our ancestors, because we are in this current generation and I'm talking to you now. So that means like those rather normal fear responses got through time and space, and right, probably have to repeat it, sorry. Yeah, so rather fast, right? So let me redraw it rather fast. Yeah, so normal distribution of animals per generation, and let's say species, because like we can't really compare different stimuli and different response for different species, because obviously there are predators and grass eaters, and so they react differently for different stimuli. So like stimuli, now two tails here, fear 0 and fear plus infinity, right? And then those died off, were fearless of really dangerous stuff, and those ones were paralyzed by fear and they couldn't do anything, and they also died off, perhaps. So those who were in the middle, our ancestors, hence I'm talking to you now, so ancestors for that generation, and that iteration happened over and over plenty of times, and hence we've got the following. And again, if we are looking at this image there, you say it's 300 million years ago, so plenty of time to work with fear. What we get there, and what does it mean for us, is the following. So along with of the response, we've got our amygdala there, right, which is connected to our sensors, right? Let's say eye, ear, oh, like goblin ear, whatever, and also connected to frontal cortex, which is also generating some thoughts about environment, and those stimuli are forming particular features, and those features, what means a combination of stimuli, are generating this fear response, right? Emotional fear response and physiological fear response. So what we're getting there is, with every generation, those who survived, they survived thanks to amygdala being selective to combination of stimuli, right? And that stimuli were leading to a fear response, and that fear response led to survival, right? The iterations were happening with generations plenty of times, and hence we've got this mechanism now embedded in our brains, and we are using it sometimes to our advantage, sometimes not. Depends on the individual. So this is where fear came from. Now the definition there is, the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come onto me, right? So what I mean is, like, we have to get a definition of fear. So the brain's response to a threat, it reads as present and concrete, a specific danger, identifiable danger. Well, identifiable is questionable here. Neuroscience, this is what I was talking about, right? So neuroscience Uh, an evolved emotional system, there's amygdala and periaqueductal gray, that fires freeze, flight, fight response to pull the body out of harm before the cortex has finished thinking, right? Again, this is also not 100% accurate, right? Because on the one hand, if we are talking about severe fear response, like for example, if a woman is reacting mouse to a mouse, then like she doesn't really think about it, she just reacts. But when we start thinking about future, and if we are quite depressed, we also could get that same feeling, maybe not that intense, but we could be afraid of future, and we feel it, right? And what we feel it, we feel that emotion, and it's definitely fear. So the only thing is just intensity of the emotion is not that. So it could be with thinking. So I would probably cortex finish thinking, like you could start thinking about it and get scared to death. Fear is an anxiety. Fear answers a present specific threat and resolves. An anxiety answers. Yeah, well, an anxiety, so that's the term. Pardon for that. Anticipated one and idols. Like trading. Fear shows up as two opposite poles: the fear of losing what you hold and fear of missing what you could others are getting and you are not, right? And form of fear of missing out, the same alarm pointed outward, the dread of being left behind while the herd profits. Yeah, well, I mean, like former, the reason why is it so strong that if we saw, like not we, our ancestors in savannah, African savannah, saw that all our peers are running and eating something, and we are just missing it, or are eating something or getting something valuable when we are missing it. So we could get that severe emotion because we're afraid to be outcasted, we're afraid to this and that, and that's why we sort of rushing into an action without really reasonable. Yeah, well, it was reasonable back then, right? Because again, if we are looking at normal distribution of the events where people were getting something, so those who didn't react died off, those who overreacted died off, and those who were just normal, getting enough formal, right? They survived. Hence, we've got this emotion. It just survived through generations. But the they survived because the result was benefiting. Was benefiting the well lifestyle, for example. So, so what that means is the this formal fear was satisfied with something, what led to uh, what led to I don't know, reproductive success, let's say. Hence, our ancestors were feeling formal law, and hence they survived and left offsprings. So the brain processes and anticipated threat as a present one. The body pays a full cost of a danger long before and often whether or not it ever arrives. Dread is not warning about the future, is the future being lived early on credit at interest. Yeah, so what that means is the emotion the fear emotion is triggering physiological response, and that requires a lot of energy. So to be in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, you have to spend a lot of energy to be in that state, even to be in that state, not even acting, because muscles supposed to be with blood, brain supposed to be with blood, so pulse goes up, adrenaline goes up, what else? Blood pressure goes up, and all that is preparing us for the like important action or something, right? And that's costly. Okay, so that's that. Yeah. When did you last time feel your heart slam over something that never happened? Yeah, well, I mean, you put your all capital into one position and then see what happens if it goes the other way. So you start thinking, all right, like life savings now are becoming half life savings. Do you know what I mean? Last time we found the engine that drives you forward, seeking the dopamine motor that falls in love with the chase, but an engine that only knows forward gets you killed. So, evolution bolted on the second system, whose entire job is to throw you backward, fast, hard, before you finish thinking. So, Panksepp called it fear. It is older than reason and faster than thought. And in the market, it decides the system that makes you sell the bottom, freeze on the loss, and skip the trade that would have worked. So let's think about what happens when you get to the bottom. So let's say you get long 30% of your deposit there. Yeah, you got there 5%, let's say, and then falls down. Usually it falls down. It flies like a rocket and it falls like a rock. So you are there, you're minus like 20%. So your 30% became, I don't know, 30 minus 20, whatever. And it goes down, right? So you've seen this number there, or minus like, let's say 5k. And now it goes 6k, and now it goes 7k. And you're thinking, oh, that's a lot of work to earn that, and I've already lost it. So should I prevent further losing? Yeah, close there, or what? Or maybe I believe it's gonna go up, so I add there another, I don't know, 10%, right? And it goes further down, so it's even more loss. And it's just like pumping in the brain, saying, look, danger. It's really dangerous thing, right? Danger. And what we do, we sell there, right, to get rid of the emotion. However, who knows why it falls? Maybe it's supposed to fall a bit before it goes up, right? Maybe you have to wait. Maybe you never know. Right. Yeah, but that's obviously that's the mistake, because it wasn't stop loss there. It wasn't stop loss there, because you or hedging. Yeah, but that's for sophisticated investors. And this overwhelmed feeling is pushing you to do a particular thing. And what happens there? Let's say long, short, sold. So a bit of relief, because even if it goes down there, you are not losing it, so you jumped off the falling boss or whatever. But it returns and goes up, and you think, oh, I missed it. I should have been waiting patiently. Do you know what I mean? So what you do, you put long there, because it obviously goes up. It was going up there. It's supposed to go up there. But it goes down now, even more than it was before. And by the way, when things are happening, they are happening usually in the manner that when it goes up, 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 then it stops there, does a topping tail wherever, then returns back, and then it falls. And some people who were short there and long there, some of them, they're like, first of all, stop losses fire, then take profits fire for shorters, right? And what happens, price stays there or even goes a bit up. Even short squeeze could happen at this stage. Some shorts and having heavy leverage who got in there, they start covering their margin calls and it goes up a bit, but it never goes right there. But like a person who's got it long there, like, doesn't believe that. It thinks like because they've got this expectation they're supposed to like go to the moon. So and it goes up a bit. They add here, hoping it's gonna get V-shaped recovery. But sometimes this happens also, and then it goes down again. I know, what a disaster, and so on and so forth. So every time when that happens, people do feel emotions. I mean, those who trade manually, I pity them, but like that's their choice. Right. So next thing is, hang on. Let me drop it there. Drop it there. There. Oh no, like that. Okay. So the system, a brake that fires before you think. So fear is not caution. Caution is a decision. Fear is a reflex. Mechanically, it runs on the amygdala, and they have said that. And could low road straight from the senses, bypassing the thinking cortex entirely. By the time your conscious mind has formed the thought that a snake, yeah, well, because we're afraid of snakes as humans, right? The body has already frozen, the heart is already pounding, and adrenaline is already dumped. Yeah, and you can't really undo this, right? Once adrenaline is in the blood system, yeah, just like, yeah, well, we can learn what to do. The body has already frozen, the heart is already pounding, the adrenaline is already dumped. The system trades accuracy for speed, because in the world that built it, being slow once, being dead once. Yeah, so what that means is, when we lived again in savannah, we couldn't afford really to be slow. We're supposed to think on our feet fast. And actually, if you're not trading shit coins, this is exactly what you have to do while trading. So if you're not sure that your reflexes are sound, then I suppose have to select those assets which are not moving that fast, because that's gonna give you a way to think. So to me, if I want to boil my blood a bit, then I enter in some trades like crypto trades where you've got like 100% a minute or so, like plenty of those. But and this is where I'm building my reflexes, right? But if I'm trading with large sums of money, so I'm really trading with slower assets. So gold, platinum, some shares. At least you have a ceiling. So for example, Intel. Can I get Intel there? Let me have a look. Right. So yeah, and that's not really usual thing for Intel. It's just volatile time we have. But yeah, let me make it bigger. I didn't read it, did I? Right. Yeah. So you see there, it was plenty of time to react when it was getting there. I don't know. Is it? Yeah, you see there. So 5 hours, 54 minutes. So plenty of time. Well, despite this, those trades were happening automatically or semi-automatically, let's say. I've got plenty of time to react and think what to do, how to do, and so on and so forth. However, if that wasn't Intel, if that was some sort of, I don't know, Mario, for example, so you could get it like 300% like in 15 minutes, and what to do then? And like you don't have, if you don't have those mechanics developed beforehand, there is no chance you are going to succeed in trading it. So, but with the small sums, little ones, you still have fear of losing, but you see how random behaves on that random. You can mm, do your strategy, right? So what we've got here, twist. Anxiety is fear with no object. When there is a clear threat, fear fires and then resolves. When there is only uncertainty, no predator, just the possibility of one, the alarm never gets to switch off. That oiling is on anxiety. The amygdala handles the snake in front of you. A neighboring structure, the bed nucleus of the stria terminalis, handles the maybe snake, and it can stay late for hours or years, especially in trading. The maybe snake, yeah, well, again, it happens, but it happens if if the environment of trading for you is not familiar, if you didn't get used to it, if you didn't get used to particular parameters, because in the end of the day, what we're getting there, so like let's say sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 1, sensor 2, all that gets in our frontal cortex, right? And frontal cortex is deriving an expectation. Yeah, well, before we move forward, let me remind you the actual emotional mechanism, engineering of nature, so to speak. So what we've got stimuli, plenty of them. Stimuli 1, stimuli 2, stimuli 3. Stim. Oh, that's not mathematical in it. So stimuli n. Here we put 3 dots there. All of them are getting in our perception cortex, right? And that perception cortex is deriving future image. So we've got the future image there, and that future image is producing emotions, right? So that's the basic mechanism, right? So we've got stimulus. Again, stimulus could be what we see, what we hear, what we observe, and also what we derive out of our own imagination as well. We are thinking about the future and so on and so forth. So, so, so okay. So basically, we've got stimuli, we've got hang on. stimuli, interpretation, emotion, action, result. So that's the mechanics, right? So you could put any emotion there. So it could be seeking emotion, it could be fear, it could be lost, it could be like any of them. But they force us to do particular action, right? So we have to, let's say, fight or fly, and then the result, right? So we flew away or fight off the enemy. But in a very abstract way, so we've got stimuli, interpretation, emotions, action, result. Now, we put fear there. What that means is we got some stimuli and interpret it as a danger, and that danger gives us fear emotion, and then we do something with it in order to get rid of that emotion, right? To change the environment, to change ourselves, and so on and so forth. And anxiety is a similar thing. The only thing is the stimuli are not getting from the outside, and mostly getting from inside. So we just imagine our future is not that bright, and we decide like to get scared and yeah, well, action for lazy people, action could be postponed, to be honest, right? So that's the mechanism. So the amygdala fears the snake. Like, it fears not the snake per se, it fears combination of patterns which are reminding us a snake, right? And I think I did speak about false positive reaction. Right, that's that. So next thing is anxiety. You got that text there. Hang on. Let's make it a bit bigger. What would be readable, right? Okay. So here is the whole episode in one asymmetry. The brain runs threat and relief on two different clocks. Fear spikes hard and early on the cue of danger. Relief, when safety actually arrives, is quiet, slow, and barely registers. So, the felt peak of fear lands before anything bad has happened. And that's obvious, right? So, for those who scared after they dead, right? They just didn't survive. So, what? I mean, they scared to, if they scared at all, right? So that means like we have to get scared first, and bad things have to happen with us later. So if we're scared, that means we anticipate that something bad is just about to happen, and we have to be, I suppose, uh, grateful to our ancestors that they did get scared before bad things happened. Uh, and the moment you are genuinely safe hardly lands at all. Yeah, well, I mean, because it didn't really matter in survival when you got to normal. The main thing was to get scared as much as possible. Fear is a bill the body pays in advance, whether or not the goods are ever delivered. I mean, goods, dangerous stuff delivered or not. It's a bit of sarcasm there. Why you are built this way, the smoke detector. Errors are not symmetrical. A false alarm costs you a wasted sprint and the moment of embarrassment. Yeah, because like you scared or nothing. A missed real threat costs you your life. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the false positive reaction, right? So for us, it's much more profitable to have false positive reactions than just miss the proper one. For those who don't know about the data science matrix where we caught. So we've got false. No, we've got the following thing. We've got true positive. We've got true negative. We've got false positive, and we've got false negative. Right? I think that's it. Yeah. So what I mean, true positive. That means we got scared. We've got scared, and it was right, right? True negative, we didn't scared and we shouldn't, right? False positive, if we got scared but we shouldn't, right? And false negative, when we didn't scare, we did get scared but we shouldn't, right? And all of us died there, right? So that means true positive and false positive are those where we're supposed to get biased to, right? And because it depends on the cost. Because if we scared false positively too much and wasted our resources, then we die, right? But because the cost for getting scared and run away is like limited to zero, so we might get scared falsely as much as we like, as long as we don't miss this thing there, right? And don't get in this category where we sick of fear and we decided, all right, okay, it never happens, so why would I bother? And then stuff happens, and there you go, our ancestor is dead who thought that. Right, so the ancestors who flinched at every rustle in the grass left more descendants than the ones who just waited for proof and were not believers. Right? You are the descendant of the jumpy. So, when the system overreacts to a number on a screen, it's not malfunctioning. Overreacting is the specification. It would rather waste 100 of your reactions than lose you once, your life once. So, you are the descendant of the ones who run from shadows and minuses on a screen. The calm ones got eaten. So what that means for us is, so by default, we are really, really not brave. Right? Hope that makes sense. By default, this is really important to keep in mind, because most of social interactions, most of large social processes are really caused by precisely that. Not because people are stupid, not intellectual, don't understand what is good, what is bad, but simply because they are and we are afraid, right? Afraid of the authority, boss, the police, and so on and so forth. And I suspect that seeking behavior is not that popular nowadays compared to fear. I don't know why, it's just a suspicion. Right. Come on, let me erase that. So, an alarm with no proportion. Like seeking, fear has no clean off switch and no sense of scale. It was built to size up charging predator, and it fires at full strength at a red number that cannot actually touch our body. The threat is symbolic. Well, I mean, if you were working hard for 20 years and then half of your work just drains to minus, another thing is you could imagine what your wife would say, and that could scare to death. And it fires a full strength at the I read that. The threat is symbolic, the response is physical, same cortisol, same tunnel vision, same urge to flee. Your hands shake at the chart and press sell. Turn the knob too high and you get a phobia, panic, chronic anxiety, paralysis. An alarm that drowns the signal. Turn it too low and you get recklessness, blindness, and genuine risk. The trader who can't feel the cliff edge, most of what we call the risk management problem, is really the one knob set wrong. Fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom. Yeah. So why that happens? Right. Okay. Let me open that. Okay. The fear of Lord is beginning of wisdom. Right. So, the topic about why fear is happening, and this is more philosophical question, I believe. So basically, when we are talking about motivation, so what we've got is we've got some, let's say, need or emotion, right? That need is creating expectation, and that expectation is motivation for an action, right? So need could be money. FOMO is also need, right? FOMO is we are afraid of missing resources. We got FOMO there. What means missing resources? That means we've got ability to obtain it, and that means we have to do some action, and that action supposed to lead to I know I will probably redraw that because so we've got a need, we've got expected, focused, action, and the result, right? So the need is the primary source of action, primary source of motivation. So when we've got FOMO, that means we've got a need, extreme need to obtain resources. That's our FOMO. We are afraid of losing it. We are afraid of missing it. But the problem there is we've got the expectation that an expectation is that we think that we already obtain it, we already have it. That's the expectation. So we see what expectation is basically. Expectation is when we see ourselves in the future in a desirable position, right? So, in other words, expectation is the desirable future, a future outcome, whatever. Then we do the action, right? And then the result, what causing a lot of stress and real fear, is that expectation is not matching the reality, or potentially it could even harm us, or it could be even worse than reality. So you see what the point is. The point is the expectation. So in that function, when we got a need to get money, right, we got an expectation and we've got an action. So the problem with expectation, the problem is first, when everyone is buying silver, a year ago, they do expect that silver goes to 200 and they obtain a lot of money, and they do action. When they do action, and silver reverses and goes back to 70, the result is rather different than expectation, right? And instead of obtaining resources, people lose it. But the expectation is the key here. The expectation. The more you trade, the less you expect. And this is really this is really not intuitive, right? That the main problem with trading is not that techniques are not working or this and that. The main problem is the brain is creating expectations. That's the main, and that problem is everywhere, right? When the young people start dating, they create expectations for each other, right? When somebody goes to work, they have expectations. What's gonna be happening at work, right? They what else? Uh, study, maybe study. I don't know. You but get the idea. Now and then expectations force us to do particular actions, right? So the problem there is or if expectations, if probability, if probability of if probability of expectation is not probability of the reality, then we got plenty of negative emotions, right? Because, like, of course, who doesn't like to predict reality as it should be? But in order to predict reality quite well, what should we do? We have to correct our expectations, right? And this is possible with a lot of training and a lot of self understanding. And I can speak for myself because I'm trading for several years now, that the way my brain changes, that I always hesitate that I'm right. I always suspect that everything could be happening against me. It just like, moreover, I'm even thinking that if I enter the trade, more likely it's gonna go against me. And this, and imagine, right? So let's say as person A who's got FOMO, and they've got expectation that trade is gonna go in their favor. As me, person B, who thinks that their expectation is that trade is gonna go against me, and there's a slight chance that it could go in my favor. So the difference between us is going to be the following: this person there being sure that their expectation is absolutely right and it's going to match the reality, they are not afraid to put $100, like 100% deposit, right? As for me, what I would do, I will put 0.1% of deposit and see how it goes. If it goes against me, maybe I hedge another 0.1, but like situation changes and so on, and if it returns, then I lose only 0.2% of deposit and so on and so forth, because I don't have expectation at all. I mean, like, I have expectation that my expectation is very different than the expectation of the person who is on emotions, who doesn't have experience, and who thinks they know the world. Do you know what I mean? And that teaches all aspects of life. Uh, uh, let's say marriage, uh, raising children, opening a business, pick it, right? Because when you do the of course, if it's not a family business where you've been with your parents from childhood, and you do the same, and you know your customer base and so on and so forth. But this is really rare now. There's not that family business anymore, such. But if you just, from the majority of population, so what happens with you is you go to school, you study there, you get some development, whatever. Then you go to some trade school, university, whatever, and you've got particular expectations that you will go into life and will be doing whatever you will be doing. But when you start your career, it's absolutely different than you were expecting. For some people, it's very frustrating, and also maybe you were thinking that you're gonna get like, I don't know, 100k straight away, and so on and so forth. And again, it's not matching the expectation. Why? Because the reality is different, and reality is changing all the time, especially in markets. And then you study 7 years, whatever, and you start working, and you see you can't do it because it's boring, it's like depressing, it's this and that, and you think, okay, I'm 25, I have to change the trade. So, right, I went too far from the fear thing. Okay, the markets. The market. Okay, like that. The market is a fear machine. The screen does the fear exactly what the slot machine does to seeking. A losing position is a present threat with no resolution. Yeah, I mean, until you just close it. But then, fear until you didn't close it, and pain afterwards. A losing position is a present. Okay, the alarm idles, and the idling that fear produces the three signature threats. Freeze, you can't cut the loss. Contact, you just watch it bleed. This is fear, not stubbornness. It shakes hands. It shakes hands with the ego refusal. Ah, yeah, ego also saying, yeah, I can't be wrong, can I? Yeah. So, fear plus ego. Yeah. Maybe ego is just, oh, they're on exchange, they're just laughing how this person could be so stupid to put that bet there. So I don't know. Fly. A panic cell at the bottom, dumping a good position. The instant the fear peaks, and because fear peaks on anticipation, that instant is usually the worst possible price, right? Yeah, you got long, it falls down there, you fear it's gonna go right to the ground. Instead of waiting a bit and it goes back, you sell there and you lose 50. You lost 50%. So that's them. Don't enter. The valid setup appears, and you cannot pull the trigger because maybe loss is louder than the maybe gain. Loss aversion. Yeah, but that's like you can treat it easily, because like if you decided to risk 50% of your capital, nobody is forcing you to put all straight in, right? And if you split it on little chunks, and if your asset is rather slow, it's not a problem. But that's the technique you are getting with experience. Like I've done it myself as well. I've seen the candle, the next candle, it's gonna grow, and then I put like 100% right there. You know what I mean? But all those techniques, you start learning them after you blow up your account a few times. And the cruelest one, the disposition effect. You cut your winners early and let your losers run. Yeah, because you're afraid of losing what you got already. You're afraid, or I am afraid of, it's gonna return. So A position in profit is again where you're now afraid to lose. So fear closes long before the thesis plays out, while you cling to the losers because closing them would make you lose real. Yeah, and you don't want a real pain. Uh, Fear sells the winners and marries the losers. The market pays in dollars. Fear is denominated in bits, and your body settles that bill first. So working with the alarm, you cannot delete fear, and you would not want to. It is the only thing standing between you and ruin. The move is not. Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got a plan, you don't have a fear. Because you know precisely, if it goes my way, I do X, Y, and Z. If it doesn't go and reverses, I just cut the losses or hedge or whatever. And hedge is, to me, hedge is better instrument than just stop loss because, and let me explain why. So, for example, you put long there, right? And you got that, like, let's say $100. And it goes a bit there, and then it goes not your way. In 2%, you put there $100 hedge, right? But like, unless your deposit is $100. So now you got like minus 2%, and price falls. Now what you could do, you could add here another 100% if you see it. But you could see what happened, right? So in this point of in time, it was environment 1. In this point in time, it was environment 2. In this point in time, it was environment 3. So what that means is you reassess environment all the time, and every point in time, well, maybe, for example, you got long there, right? Then automatically you got hedge there, so minus 2%, whatever. But there are news articles for that particular thing that's saying, right, unwinding like yen carry trade, so on and so forth. Now everybody is selling, and you see all other markets are down. So there is no point to close your hedge until it covers this minus 2% and then even gains some for you. But what that means is, the hedging part is that you've got the mobility. You can. The problem with the large chunk of deposit, when you put like 100% straight away, you're handcuffed, and market is going to do with you what it always does. However, and again, if you do that every time, how many times can you be right? 5 out of 10? 10 out of 10? So what that means is, or at least we have to know how many times I'm wrong. Now, then with the hedging, so you've got your environment 1, and you've got your position. You've got your environment 2, and you've got your combination of different position 1, position 2, right? You've got your environment 3, and you've got your position 1, position 2, position 3, and so on and so forth. So it raises the complexity from here to here, but it gives you the flexibility to react. So yeah, but again, it just comes with experience. So what all I'm trying to say here is there are many strategies, not single-digit ones, where you can play chess, where you can think, if it goes there, then this, and I can sort of negate the loss and even win, and so on and so forth. So example to show you with magma. So for example here, let me get this screenshot. Right, there. I think that's normal there. So yeah, so basically what was happening there is okay, again, some guess. Okay, where did I stop? Like, so So as you can see there, it was just pure random. So for example, if I put, I don't know, I've started there, you see, and then wherever things happened, then there and there and there. So in order to navigate yourself what to do in this random environment, it has to be a knowledge first what to do in particular conditions. If it's a bit, if it goes a bit up, if it goes a bit down, and what happens with risk. What some of the risk in point of time. Right. Okay. So what we've got, final thoughts. Let me drop it there and see what final thoughts are. Final thoughts are prepared. Okay, so fear, your oldest protector, is not trying to make you money. It's trying to keep you alive in jungle, and it cannot tell the difference between predator and rodon. The entire skill is learning to feel the alarm without obeying it. Uh, I would even say that uh, learn to ignore, learn to not to get into a situation when you get scared. That's the main thing, because the fear and probably anxiety is a better example. Anxiety is the anticipation of bad, unpredictable bad, right? So you were having expectation. Expectation is to win, to get money. This expectation is broken by the reality, and is broken by reality, and now there's an anxiety of bad outcome. But if you are trained your brain, so you cannot have an anxiety per se because you predetermine your risk. So you know in advance when you are wrong and when you have to cut losses and you have to get away of the deal. Then there is no fear. You know what you do. Anxiety and fear is in an environment which is unpredictable and which you can't understand. But if you understand that, if the environment is familiar for you, if you've seen it a million times, then you do what you have to, and you avoid losses because you see the probability of losses is high, and there is no need to stay in the trade because it's unpredictable, right? Uh, so this week, catches it just once, feel the spike of fear, fire before anything has actually happened. In trade, in your inbox, in the conversation you are dealing. Don't fight it. Don't fix. Yeah, well, I mean, if you feel an anxiety, that means the environment is not familiar. You don't know what happens next. This is an anxiety. Then, if you are expecting bad and you know for sure it's going to happen, then you don't have an anxiety. You have frustration, you maybe bad mood, whatever, but it's not an anxiety because you know precisely what's going to happen. And if you have forecast your loss, then you just do you have to. Yeah, but that comes with a skill, and have to learn atomic operations, a lot of atomic operations. Uh, the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, but notice the fear come first and lived in the body long before the thing ever did. Most of what you fear arrives only ever as fear. Fear feels like danger. Yeah, again, if if we think that a loss is a price to pay, is a cost to stay in a game, then you look at this slightly differently, don't you? Yeah, so practice, 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 and then with practice, uh, perhaps experience will eliminate fear. I think when somebody is cutting human flesh first time, surgeon for example, they are afraid because they have fear of unpredictable outcome. That's their first time. Or a dentist, exactly the same thing. Or I don't know, some soldier in military combat. But the more they do the stuff they do, the more they get used to it, the less they fear consequences because they have somewhat predictable consequences. And exactly the same here, and that's why I love like crypto trading, because it gives you feedback straight away. You don't have to wait for ages. Like for example, you get into gold and you go have has a run during half year, and you just like being in it stay for half year. It's a bit too much, right? We need a lot of iterations. So next, what happened next when the alarm cut on? When fear is cornered and flight is cut off, it cuddles into the system we have been circling from the start. Rage is gonna be the next one, also interesting in trading. Like for now, fear. That's it with fear. So thank you all for your attention.